amazing human beings coming together for one sole purpose to talk about the power of surrender, the power that can happen in your life when you actually step out and let God step in.
Elena, thank you so much for having me. Oh
Yeah.
my God, such powerful stories. Julie, that was
Beautiful.
amazing.
So,
Oh,
Tina, tell everybody where you're joining us from this morning.
all right. So I'm tuning in from Connecticut, and I just love Elena, and I love the community that you're building, and it's so great to be here.
Great to have you here.
Sharing.
Now, I will tell you, Tina, the first time that Tina and I talked, like number one, I had no idea her story. Like I just didn't. Tina has her businesses from job to joy. And I will just tell you, every time her and I are able to connect, I feel the joy in her. And when I see her smile, it brings me joy. And so I just think when I heard that name of your business, I'm like, it's so perfect because you just exude the joy. So that's why when we got to talking and hearing your story, I had no idea. Like, because you you have come through this level of resilience, and I'm like, people need to hear this piece,
Mm.
this comeback. So can you kind of share with us a little bit about that part of the journey that you've been on?
Yes, so we all go through things. So I've gone through a divorce, I've gone through loss of a job, and the most difficult one was the loss of my daughter 5 years ago at 37 of cancer. And I had never thought, because God puts so many things in our path that we don't expect. And so that was the hardest thing and for me to go through. And when I look at everything that I've gone through, I've always been the type of person to be in control. I made the decision, get divorced. Getting laid off, yeah, all right. I was happy about it. Okay, even though it wasn't my decision, but I was happy. But the loss of my daughter is really where I had to surrender and trust. And how do I get through this mess? When my daughter passed away on July 2nd, I was there when she flatlined, and it was during COVID time. They didn't even want me to stay in the hospital with her because she had COVID. But as a mom, mama bears are in full force because you're not going to stop me from being with my daughter. Because they had told me that my daughter was dying. And I said, no, my daughter's not dying. You see, I was in denial. My mindset was always, we talked a lot about mindset today. My mindset is always in the solution. I'm going to figure this out. I don't know how. We're going to get through this. This is another chapter that we're going to get through a difficult time. However, God had another plan. And it was like, okay, why did you take my daughter, God? And 5 years later, I'm still questioning. I'll be honest, I'm still questioning it. What was the purpose of her gone? However, I wrote a book. I'm always got to do something. I can't be, I've got to do. That's part of my challenge is to be. Okay. So I just immediately said, okay, God, I got to share my story. How do I share my story? Because the challenge of going through losing my daughter, I had to deal with the healthcare system that I got to be, not good. My daughter's doctor didn't diagnose her soon enough. It was after 5 visits of my daughter complaining of pain that finally the doctor took some tests. So from March to October of that year in 2019, she never did any testing. And her stomach kept growing. She was in pain, and the doctor just did nothing until finally we pushed her to take tests. And then it was too late because she had a full hysterectomy and the cancer had already spread. But I was still, my faith in God, that's what's kept me going all this time is my faith in God. That I know that there's something more. What is a lesson that I learned from this experience with the loss of my daughter? Well, I learned that being in the moment. I was where Julie was in a career, working, 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 always working, never having fun, never taking time for me. And I was always working. What was I working for? So when I got laid off from the corporate world, that was finally when I went on a self-discovery to realize I wanted freedom. I wanted to do what I love to do. And I'm so grateful that I got laid off. And so, and then, when my daughter got diagnosed in 2019, a year before that, I got fired from a job because I went back to a job while building my business part-time. And I got to tell you, that was the best day because God sometimes got to push us because, we're making excuses. I was making excuses. Not the right time. I don't have the money. No one's going to buy from me. I had that imposter syndrome. Who's going to buy from Tina? And thank God that I got fired because it was a year later that my daughter got diagnosed with cancer. And I was able to be with her every single day and building my business and being with her every single day. And my daughter and I had a great relationship. Thank you, God. We traveled together. She was my best friend. So 5 years later today, it's still hard. But I promised I wasn't going to cry. But 5
And
years
what's
later,
wrong? But what's wrong with tears? There's nothing wrong with tears.
well, that's one of the challenges I've always had to face. I never believed in feeling your feelings.
Okay.
I always believed that it was weak.
Mhm.
But the experience with my daughter allowed me to feel and to be vulnerable. And it's okay. It's not weakness. And thank God for a community and a support of people. And you know what? For the first time, I asked for help because
And
I
that's a
never asked
common
for
theme
help.
that we've heard that today several
Yes, never
times.
asked for
Help.
help.
Mhm.
Never. Because I thought it was weak to
Yeah.
ask for help. I should have figured it out. I'm the oldest of three girls, an Italian immigrant family. My father would always say, well, you're responsible. You know better. You should know better. And so I always had to think I had to figure it all out because I'm the Tina, the strong woman in the household. Okay. I'm looked at as strong. Well, I had to let go that strong image and come from a vulnerable state. And it is okay. It is okay to feel your feelings and ask for help.
And if anything, that might be the message that somebody needs from to hear today. I think somewhere along the way, that especially for women, okay, we get placed in this masculine energy because we are in survival mode for whatever reason. Something put us in that survival mode, and now we're living in masculine energy, which we're not designed for, but we adapt to.
Yes.
And then it kind of hides the true essence of who we're here to be. So show me them tears, girl.
Exactly. Be authentic. That's one of the things that I've, been learning. And we have to be authentic because people can relate. One of the biggest challenge, I wrote my book, with my daughter's story, and my publisher, was saying to me, you got to share your story, girl. You got to share your story. And I was like, I don't want to make money off of my daughter's tragedy. And he said to me, but just think of the impact that you can make for other moms and dads, siblings, spouses have lost the wife and husbands, siblings who you can help. And so that is really where I'm coming from. Every time I hear a story about someone losing someone, I immediately go back to, okay, how can I help them? What can I do? Just sharing my experience, because one of the things that I want to emphasize in the loss is how do we move forward? How do we create a legacy? Because in my book, I talk about creating a legacy, because I think that all of us, for me, what is my legacy? I don't ever want my daughter to be forgotten. So I'm working on her legacy, and I'm planting seeds because that's my purpose. See, her purpose was done. Her life was over, but I needed to continue and be her messenger. My daughter was a journalist, a writer, and she wrote blogs, and I have all of her journals and her articles. And I'm going to write, my next book is going to be about self-love because my daughter was going to write a book. I found in her room a year later, she was going to write a book on self-love. And I have all of the index cards. She was going to write it in 2015. She died in 2020. And I said, that's my next book. I want to write about self-love, but coming from her perspective.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, that was when I found that, I was like, oh my God, her name was Daniela. I said, oh my God, Daniela, this is your book. I'm going to write your book.
Wow,
Yeah,
that just gave me the chills there.
I
Julie
know.
says she is still with you every day and you continue to honor her. Like,
She is. She is, Julie. I feel her every day. I talk to her every day. She's in my room here. Yeah, yeah. I'm living in her condo that she had bought, but she never got to live in it because she was diagnosed with cancer and died before she got a chance to live here.
wow.
And we're living in her. So I'm connected with her every day. I know it, and so we go through experiences in our life. We always have ups and downs. And even after my daughter passed away, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And thank God I got through that. And my dad had colon cancer. We've gone through other things. My parents are both alive. They're 91. My mom has got Alzheimer's, Julie, an advanced stage of Alzheimer's. My dad is my rock because he's strong, 91, and he's kicking. His birthday's next week. And he's the caregiver for my mom, although we do have help for my mom right now. But my mom is still alive. And my parents outlived by their first granddaughter.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you, like honestly, and I mentioned that earlier because Charles is the one that explained that for the first time that we're given that hourglass, and um you just there's no rhyme or reason sometimes, like you don't know why someone's runs out so fast and why someone's can go on and on and on, but God knows.
Exactly.
God knows, and all we can do is continue to put one foot in front of the other and make the choices and do the things. So amazing that you like found those notes and you found like when, like you said, a year later.
Yeah, because I was cleaning her room, and I found it underneath some boxes, and she had never told me about this, never shared it with me at all. And I was like, wow. And it was amazing to find this. And I typed it already up. It's already on a Word document. And I'm going to be publishing. That will be the next book that I'm going to
Wow.
publish. And it's going to be, yeah, her story from a mom's perspective. And yeah, so that will be coming because
I love that. I
yeah.
love that. I can't wait to, just watch that
Yes,
come to be.
yes, yes.
Amazing. So for the parent that is struggling, like, because even you said you have a hard time still understanding like why, for that parent that it might still be raw and real if they've lost a child, what is just a word that you can share with them in case they're tuning in?
Well, one thing I've learned you don't say is they're in a better place because there's so many cliches to say when someone loses a child. You don't say they're in a better place. Well, I want them here. I don't want them in heaven. Okay, I want them right here. Thank you very much to live and move on. What I would say is that I'm here for you. My heart goes to you. How can I help you? How can what do you need from me? And I've had moms come to me and say, I can't even talk about my child that passed away. And the fact that you were able to write a book, like my own family will not read the book. They've never read the book. My sister, my son, they won't read it. They said it's too painful. How did you write it? I'm like, well, I wrote it through tears, but it was part of my healing because in the book I talk about having a voice and I talk about gratitude, I talk about mental strength, I talk about the support that you need when you're going through a challenging time. I'm so grateful that my daughter had a network of amazing friends that 5 years later they're still connected to me, and we go out every couple months just to dinner, just honoring my daughter.
Wow.
She had that kind of a connection. She loved other people, always took care of others before herself. That was part of her problem. Self-care was not there for her. And I was trying to coach her, but she was that stubborn daughter of mine, okay, like her mom. And we battled a lot over the years, and then we reconnected. And I'm so grateful that we reconnected, and we became close. And like I said, we chatted every day, multiple times, just gossip, just chit chat, and having a son, it's not the same. You get the texting. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll say to my son, you just text, you don't call. He said, Mom, I'll do a better job. Okay, don't worry.
Well, and if it's anything like my son's, it's like a 2-word text. I send a paragraph. How you doing, son? Da, 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 da. Good. Okay, well, great talking to you today. That'll be it.
That's the kind I get too. But I know I'm grateful because we see each other a lot, and he's close by, and he's really stepped it up. And because my daughter was the one that did everything, organized, and he's now had to step it up. And but I'm very grateful that I have him because, like Julie was saying, her son is her world. He's my world.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know.
love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing with
Thank
us
you.
today. Every time it's such a joy. I mean, I don't know why you just always put a smile on my face, and you just exude joy, and to know
Thank
that
you.
you can bring that to other people, carrying what I know you carry with you every single day.
Thank you.
That's a
Thank you.
blessing. So I
Thank you so
absolutely
much,
love you.
Elena, for having me.